This is an awesome stage to be on, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And the title of my speech is Don't Launch with a Bad Haircut. And you might have wondered what a haircut has to do with anything. As I've mentioned, from my logo, you can probably tell I work predominantly with women. And I've noticed a phenomenon with women, a tendency to sort of defer to the expert. You'll see from my family picture, I have a lot of women in my life. And these women have a lot of hair. Whether or not guys have issues with hair is just not part of my world. So, what I've noticed with my girls is we'll go to the hair salon to get our hair done, and we get close to the end of the haircut, and the hairdresser whips the chair around so your back's to the mirror and finishes your haircut and turns you around, and you look and says, "You look fabulous." And you go, yeah. In the back of your head, you're thinking, well, that really wasn't quite what I was going for. And then the person next to you says, you look fabulous. And you go, oh, well, maybe I do. And then if a family member or a friend says, you look fabulous, you're like, okay, I guess I must. But you really don't like the haircut. So what does that have to do with business? I made the mistake of trying to launch my business listening to the experts. As you heard from my bio, my experience started with a weight loss. And people were asking me, how did you do this? What worked for you? And I started sharing my story, and I knew I wanted it to be something more. So I decided I was going to launch a coaching practice, Heidi Kleine coaching, because I'm super creative like that. And I started a website. And my website had a really pretty picture of a sunset and me. But what am I about? It's really hard to tell. And then people said, I really like your blog, and I like your writing. You should write a book. And I said, okay. So I hired a designer to make a book cover for me. And this is the book cover that came back. And I didn't spend a lot of time with her. I didn't really work on what I wanted the book to be about. The title is actually half something from one of my programs and half what we had in our conversation. But I looked at the book cover and I was like, wow, that looks like a real book. And she's a book designer and she likes it. So I showed it to my family. And they said, wow, Mom, it's a real book cover. That looks great. And then I showed it to a couple of friends and they said, that looks great. And I went, okay. And I paid for it. And I quit writing my book. Because my book didn't have a story that matched that book cover. So what does this mean for you? Fast forward, well, actually, a little bit before that, fast forward to last fall when I was asked to speak at a conference this May. And I knew this conference was going to be a great opportunity for me. I knew I needed to have sort of the back end ready, the website I needed to be available, and my book needed to be there. I had to finish this. And I reached out to a friend whose web page and blog I really loved, and I said, I need help with this. And sent her my book cover, and she sent me this exhaustive list of questions. And if you've ever worked with a branding expert, you will know this, who do you want to serve, and where are they located, and what are you going to do, and all this. And I'm like, I don't want to answer all those questions. I just want a book cover, right? So she made me answer all those questions. And she called me one day, and she said, we need to have a hard conversation. And I said, you hate my book cover. And she went, yeah. And I said, thank you. She's like, it doesn't even have your brand colors in it, the things you're telling me you want. So fast forward to the next slide. In working with her, she came up with a picture that changed my entire business, this gemstone picture in the shattered shell. And as soon as I saw it, I knew the title of my book. And then I knew the title of what else I wanted to share. And so everything just fell into place. So my advice to you is that if you want to launch, 3 things. First of all, decide how you want to show up. Everybody kept pushing me to be a weight loss coach. People expect a weight loss coach to give them fitness plans and food plans, and that's really not what I'm about. Some of the women I work with lose weight. Some of the women I work with launch new careers, write books, do all kinds of other things because it's about them figuring out they're worth it. And people were disappointed when they got to me and said, and I told them, so go find a food plan. They went, what? Like, what am I paying you for? So that's the first. The second thing you need to ask is, who are you going to serve? Napoleon Hill says, the greater the niches, or the tighter the niches, the greater the riches. And there's so much truth to that. I work with women. I can use gemstones and purple in my branding. You probably can't if you don't work with women, right? And I want worth to be the center of that. So worth it woman, which you have to say, you have to do it like this, worth it woman, right? You got to put your hands on your hips, right? So having that word worth in all of my social media handles tells everybody what I do and what I'm about. And the third thing is to get a list of sort of checks and balances. How are you going to serve the people that you are going to help? And know those three things. So the other two things that I recommend, once you have those answers to those three questions, get an accountability group for starters. Find some people who aren't the yes people in your life. Not your family members, not your best friends, the people who can say, well, that doesn't look like your book you're talking about, right? Somebody who'll be honest with you. Secondly, make sure they know the answers to those first three questions. Have a set of checks and balances that you go through for yourself on everything you do. If does this blog post match my criteria? Does this book, does this program, anything you offer match that criteria? So, and the last thing I kind of want to say is when I came up to the song Day One, and that was for a reason, because every day can be your day one. The super cool thing about branding is that you can rebrand yourself whenever you choose to. So if you're going, oh man, I wish I would have done something different, then just do it. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I have copies of this book here with me if you find it interesting and want to connect with me later on. Thank you for your time.